If you change your story over time, you should not be trusted. And that was my suspicion when it comes to the Gospels. After all, think about it. Have you read your Gospels? We said this last night. Do you know how many variations, how many alleged contradictions there are in your Gospels? Have you ever read the resurrection account? Seriously. You got so many different versions of stories, and they don't line up. Come on. How many angels, we said this last night, I'll repeat it again. How many angels are at the tomb when the women get there? Is it one? Is it two? Depends on the gospel. How many women run to the tomb? 2? 3? Depends on the gospel. What's the sign over Jesus' cross say? 4 accounts, 4 different signs. Come on. They don't line up. They don't match up. How can you accept this stuff? Well, that was one issue that never bugged me as an atheist reading the gospel accounts because, man, I've been working eyewitness accounts for years. And if you have 3 people who see the same crime, trust me, their story is not going to line up. It's going to have all kinds of apparent contradictions. I remember I had a murder that occurred several years ago, and they called me out. I was in the middle of the night. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I get there, and sure enough, it's raining at the crime scene. I almost always will tell the dispatcher. I give her very important instructions before I leave my house. But this night, I didn't. I just got up, put my clothes on, and went to the crime scene. Because the instructions I always give the dispatcher are, hey, I'm on my way. Do me a favor. Make sure the patrol officer's there. Separate the witnesses for me. Always say that. Always. But sure enough, I forgot. So when I get there and it's raining, I got these witnesses, and the officers are very sweet. They don't want these witnesses to suffer in the rain, waiting for me to get there for an hour. So they put all of them in the back of a patrol unit where they sat for an hour talking to each other before I got there. And you all know that's not good. Because now they've had an hour to get their story together. And they have honestly and sometimes very innocently shaped their story so it matches. They don't want to seem like they want to help me out. So they've kind of lined up their stories. So now I get them out of the car, I have the same story 4 times. I don't want the same story 4 times. I want 4 slightly different stories because it's up to me to figure out why they're slightly different because no one's lying. The crime did occur. They all saw the crime. But the apparent contradictions I can resolve by just interviewing. The problem, of course, is we can't go back and interview the gospel authors. So what we have still are the apparently cloudy, muddy, some kind of apparent Great, no problem. When I read that, I thought to myself, these actually feel like they're within the range I would expect from eyewitnesses. So don't get hung up on the fact that you have 2 accounts from any eyewitnesses that don't match. That is always, always, always the case. Always. That's a good thing. Because if you had 4, do you think atheists would be any happier with our gospels if every word for word was identical? No, they would say this is clearly a lie. They've lined them all up. So you can't win one way or the other on this, but trust me, eyewitness accounts have the flavor of what you might think are contradictions, but they're really not.